Hi everyone. So today I don't really have a plan or a theme or anything written down for this video. I wanted to talk a little bit about OCD things and just kind of ramble and see where it goes. And I want to do more OCD content, structured and unstructured, talks and things from a lived experience point of view, and more like information and kind of the, what OCD is and isn't, and what's characterized by, and signs and symptoms and compulsions and obsessions and this and that. So, I do want to make a lot of content. I want to help other people with OCD, people just like me, people out there struggling, people that don't know what they're struggling with, because that was me for a long time. And I did research and I found OCD from, I'm actually kind of lucky because I found OCD pretty early on, but I didn't fully realize all the ways it was affecting me. I had scrupulosity, OCD, and a lot of religious fears and, punishment from God and blasphemous thoughts, and all these things were happening to me and I didn't understand. And I came across some of Chrissie Hodges' videos and I learned a lot from her. And so, I had OCD for a long time. I've had symptoms since childhood. I've had some symptoms during puberty, like when I was 9, 10, like sexual images and things popping in my head, and I didn't understand it then. It was distressing. And like I couldn't look at people like without more images and things like that. But when I was like 13, I had other themes, but it then morphed into scrupulosity, OCD, and I found Chrissie Hodges videos, I found Katie Dath videos, and I was like 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. I don't even know for sure. I was probably like 15 or 16 when I found those videos, but I was already a couple years in, like pretty deep, and I was lucky I found those videos, but I only really thought I had scrupulosity, OCD. Like, I don't think it really registered completely with me yet that, like, those thoughts, those sexual thoughts and, images of private parts, popping into your head when you were like 9, that was OCD too. And, all these other little things, not little things, but all these other things are OCD also, and I just didn't know it at that point. But, yeah, OCD is rough, and it's hard, and it's debilitating, and it slowly consumes your life. It takes over everything, and, it's hard not to make it your everything, and I think I've been doing that, but it affects every single thing, and it's distressing. Like, that's the thing we want people to know. People that don't have OCD, people that don't suffer with it, our friends, our family, our loved ones, our partners, our, whoever we care about, we want them to know it's distressing. It's opposite of what we want. It's opposite of our values. It tears us apart. It scares us so bad. It's hard to explain, which is another video I want to make about like how to approach other people, friends and family, about OCD, and how to explain it you know, either going into details or not, you know, that's up to you as the person sharing. But it is scary, it's debilitating, and I'm like, you know, gone through some things, and I need to recover, you know. I don't know that I'll put this in the video, but yeah, it's hard. And anyone out there suffering, I feel you, you know, it's hard. And it's distressing, and there's definitely, like, I was just thinking about this earlier, like, mental emotional contamination isn't a very, I feel like, talked about enough topic, and one that once I heard about it, I was like, this is running through, like, all my themes. But you know, even a mental or emotional contamination with myself, like, I was like, the guilt and the shame and all those things, but, you know, it's hard to accept yourself, it's hard to move on, it's hard to love yourself, it's hard to, it's difficult. And I'm like, you know, even if I'm not, you know, right here, right now, having the, you know, the scary thoughts or the whatever, I'm like, my brain will never not have had that thought. My brain, that thought was in my brain. That thought was something that I had. And even if I'm not having it right now, I had it, and I will never not have had that thought. You know, and that's so big in OCD, like, you can't not have that thought. And once you've had it, and that, especially those first moments of OCD and of your first obsessions or whatever, that thought changed your life, that thought changed your routine, your life, your mind, your physical, mental, all of your health. You know, it affected your life, and now your life's revolving around this. And it's hard to like let that go. And it's hard to let that go. And I had to fix my memory card, so I'm probably off track and a little off topic, but yeah, you'll never not have that thought, and you have to keep going. You have to keep living. You have to keep, and the rest of my life, I'll know that I've had those thoughts. I know that, like, you know, a religious scrupulosity example, like, you know, blasphemous thoughts, fears of going to hell, things like that. I'll have to, you know, when I was really in it with that, you know, I've worked through some of those things, but, you know, when I was really in it, I was like, I'll have to live the rest of my life not knowing if I'm going to hell or whatever. And, like, you think about your whole life, how this thought is going to impact your whole life. And yeah, it's consuming. It is all consuming and hard to get out of, and hard to explain to people that its brain doesn't work like that. And I want to make a video topic about this, this just popped in my head, but and I've looked for it, maybe I'm not looking in the right spots, but I've looked for information about how OCD impacts our nervous system, like our whole nervous system, and trauma and things like that. I can have like flashbacks or images, or just I can remember a thought that I had just by looking at an object that I saw when I had that thought, or places. Places can be difficult, especially like if you have panic attacks and things like that, also intermixed with your OCD and things you're suffering with. Like places I've had panic attacks, or or shoes that somebody's worn, or somebody's hair color, somebody's car, anything that reminds me of that trigger, or that thought, or that person, or that fear, or that whatever. It's everywhere. You see it everywhere. You can't escape it. And I want to know more, like, scientifically. I want to like reach out to a neuroscientist. I want to talk to everybody about questions that I have, and I want to make a whole separate video on it, because I want to know how it's impacting our nervous system. I feel sick, physically sick all the time from intrusive thoughts and obsessions and rumination, and it weighs on you. It weighs on your health, your physical health, your of course your mental health. But I want to know, like, how it changes your nervous system, how you're more reactive, and like, I've heard about the 21 days and like neuroscience and neuroplasticity and how the brain changes, and I am very interested in all of these topics. Like, I researched not only just because to find OCD answers, but because it's generally, like, very interesting to me how, like, you can do something and it reminds you of that thought. Like, I think, like, I had a new intrusive thought pop up, like, when I was eating breakfast or something, and then the next day, same thought popped up because I was doing the same thing. I was doing the same routine. I was getting the same food ready, and the thought just pops back up. It just pops back up, and I was like, if this happens so often, and if it takes 21 days to wire a new circuit, or I probably don't understand that fully, but get to develop a new pattern or something like that. Like, if I had an intrusive thought during breakfast and it came back the next day, and I think I was able to, like, work through that, and it didn't keep happening. But there's things you can't do that with. There's things I can't do that with. And how that becomes a pattern, a obsession becomes a wired circuit pattern in your brain. And yes, the brain's neuroplastic. You can work on it and ERP, and work on undoing those circuits and patterns and behaviors. But I'm like, the breakfast example, I think, really opened my mind to this. And I was like, all those years that I did spend in scrupulosity and in whatever obsession that I was in, it just keeps happening every day. It's now a wired pattern. It's so hard to break. It's so hard to break in general with, just the knowledge that I know about OCD. But there's so much more that I think we need to tie in to OCD research, OCD treatment, OCD, any OCD thing, conversations, things like that. I think there's so much more there than we realize. We're looking at I don't know, maybe there are studies, maybe there are things, and if you found them, send them to me. I'd love to read it. Or if you're working on a study, if you're a researcher, a therapist, a psychiatrist, whatever, I'd love to hear what you're working on and any findings you have. But I think there's more happening than we realize, and there's so many different ways that we can, ERP is the gold standard treatment for OCD, but there's, I definitely recommend that, and I'm not a professional here in any way, but, there's so many other things too that can be beneficial, and, it's your recovery, it's your treatment, it's your life, and how you gain control of it back, how you get your life back from OCD. And, that's something I'm working on, like, trying to, go through the trauma, the grieving, and that's one thing Chrissie Hodges talks about a lot, and I've gained so much from her videos, so go check them out. But she talks a lot about grieving OCD, and grieving what you've been through, the experiences that you've lost, the time that you've spent in obsessions and compulsions, and the years and the opportunities that you missed, or the relationships that were impacted, or, the chances you didn't take, say you didn't want to go to school, or you were too afraid to drive, you never got your license, and now your whole life, is impacted by this fear and this obsession and this OCD, and getting your life back, and that's something that I'm wanting to focus on right now too in treatment, is, getting my life back, getting myself back, and not being scared anymore. But I don't know if I'll put that in the video. But yeah. So hopefully you like this, and I will make more OCD videos soon. There's a couple that I want to make on, just small steps in recovery. Just little things, ways that I've gotten my life back already, and so keep an eye out for that. That's in the works, I guess. But if you like this rambling, I liked doing it, because basically I have this conversation with myself anyway on times that I'm just trying to process. So after I process, I can process with you. And if you gain something from this, and gain something from it, if you want more information, I will put more out in the future. I also do a lot on this channel too, a lot of other things, but hang in there, and you're not alone, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.